Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. As promised, I have my second review of Dune 2. The first one was titled, Why I Didn't Like Dune 2 as Much as You. And this one is going to be a totally different note, okay? And I have to thank some of the commenters of the last video. Some were encouraging me to go see it a second time. There was one particular person, I wish I could find their handle right now. I don't know if they want a shout out or not, but the individual said something to the effect of, I beg you to see Dune 2 again. And another individual kind of got a bit more detailed, saying that I should watch the HD Blu-ray disc, the 4K, of Dune 1 from 2021 and Dune 2 from 2022 with the subtitles, the English subtitles, because that person, like myself and many others, have said that the monologues, or not the monologues, just the dialogues, the words are sometimes hard to hear because the actors are either not enunciating or the sound mix, some of the dialogue's not as clear or as listenable as the music or whatnot. And that's a good idea, too. What I did in preparation to see this, first of all, you might have seen my little prep video. I had a giant 32-ounce Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee today. I'm going to turn the light off. I only mention that it's Dunkin' Donuts. That happens to be my favorite iced coffee of choice. You know what I mean? Like, Starbucks has all these wonderful drinks and everything. I just don't like the taste of Starbucks coffee as much as I do the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Extra cream, no sugar. So I did not have a sugar rush or a sugar crash or anything. This fucking light, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to do a goddamn video and these lights are giving me troubles. And I don't think I can continually do the lights. I might actually step outside, believe it or not. Hopefully the video will not cop out on us. I just need to be heard, okay? So, yeah, that's all right. So, God, fuck. Let me see. Let me just get a little podium. God damn it all. Jesus fucking Christ. Every time you try to do something in this fucking world. So the movie, I prepped by watching, I think it was some type of YouTube channel, Screen Rant or Screen something or other, where this guy and a little white dog basically gave a prep. If you were going to see Dune 2 after seeing Dune 1 and forgot a lot of the stuff, this video was basically meant to refresh you or catch you up to speed, I suppose, in the case you hadn't seen the first Dune, or it didn't resonate, or you didn't hold on to the information in your mind for 3 years and didn't watch the movie, the first one before seeing the second one. So this guy and his dog are sitting there. They're giving you all these little cliff notes with clips from the first movie and some of like hints about, what happens in the later books. Apparently, as most of you Dune fans would know, that there's 6 novels, and the first 2 movies from this decade are basically just parts 1 and 2 of the first novel. I don't know how much of that material is in the Sting 1984 movie. I don't know. Maybe that's the whole first novel. Maybe not. I don't know the answer to that. And like I said earlier in my prep video for tonight, I am looking forward to watching this 2-hour and 58-minute fan cut. Apparently some fan took the Dune movie. I don't know if he or she used bonus footage or DVD extras or whatever he or she used to make this fan recut, which seems to be pretty popular. And someone in my YouTube comments, the same individual who suggested I see these Blu-ray discs with the subtitles on, suggested I watch this, which I will watch. I don't think it's going to happen this week. I think it'll happen next week when I have a 3-hour chunk of time with a specific, HD TV I have in mind to watch that experience. So let's get back to tonight. So tonight I kind of went into this thing basically telling myself, hey, look, obviously this is controversial. I'm not the only person who did not really enjoy the modern day ones without, maybe some of the people that didn't enjoy it had read the books, thought the movies weren't matching up to the books. Maybe some of the people loved the 1984 David Lynch version and were disappointed with these. Other people you know, we're very defensive, you know, throwing out insults, saying that the people that don't like this movie are not intelligent. And other people reacted to those reactions. So a lot of back and forth, give and takes, which is unusual for my channel, quite honestly. I don't have a ton of subscribers, at least not right now. So to have all these back and forths and yips and yaps is quite unusual for my channel. So for me, it's quite exciting. And also, like, hey, what the hell? If people are this passionate one way or the other about this movie or this whole franchise, let me give this thing another try and see if I miss something. So I think the equation is, basically, I think these movies, the 2021, 2022, you really do have to have familiarity with the novels and or the attempt of the David Lynch movie or the story. Just however you find out the story, you know, a lot of people don't want to sit there and read 6 novels. They don't have the time, or they don't want to make the time. Audiobooks are also nice. I did discover some audiobook versions of this thing that are available. So that's a good choice. But for people going into this movie, having not been familiar with the story, like myself, it can be very confusing. And I think some of the confusing parts are this, you know, once again, we're into the multiverse thing. But once again, I have to say that Dune was published, I believe, in 1965. This video earlier today that I watched, the guy and his dog said that that the gentleman who wrote it had been Frank, I guess. Sorry, I don't know all these fucking names by heart, but the gentleman who wrote it spent 5 years doing research. He was an environmentalist, you know, sounds like a profoundly interesting guy who put a lot of work into this project, this 6 novels. And a lot of things that he wrote, other people have ripped off. And Star Wars included, a lot of things included. They've either been inspired or just blatantly stole. And I can see some of that stuff. And I had mentioned that in my first video too, by the way. So in this whole multiverse thing, we're kind of seeing the Dune version of that from, like I said, 1965, when our Paul guy, played by Timothée Chalamet, has these visions of the future and different paths that might happen. I mean, basically, that's a multiverse type of thing. I mean, the same thing we've been seeing for 10 years with these Spider-Man movies, with The Flash, with all this other stuff. All this multiverse stuff, as you probably don't know, I wrote a novel several years ago, and I had not a multiverse in the story, but a mention of it. So yeah, it was, you know, and so now I've actually gone back to my novel, and I'm eliminating, for the second edition of my novel, A Distance from Avalon, I'm actually changing that conversation to get rid of the multiverse type of thing in my story, because I don't want to just be another goddamn multiverse story. I don't want my story to be that similar to other things that are going on. You might have, you probably didn't, but for those that did, I did talk about this Spider-Man and Flash from the summer of 2023. I think we're very similar to each other, and they came out within a week and a half of each other, or a week of each other, and so forth. So I don't want to have my works seem like a ripoff, even though when I wrote it, I did it, these multiverse things weren't such a big deal, or so commonplace in creativity. That being said, once again, give it up for Frank, because he wrote, and he had this thing published in 1965. Who knows when he started it? Could have started it in 58 or 59, and so forth. So, hail, hail. I noticed a thing, which I don't think was really there and when he wrote it, but the names are hard for me to remember. The Fading, the guy that the guy that played Elvis played Austin Butler, who I had a hard time recognizing him. Credit to him, he played Elvis. I happen to like the Elvis movie, the montage of it. Yes, Tom Hanks was a little bit goofy as Colonel Tom, but I thought he did a nice job as Elvis. And I'm not one of these people that say that this actor portraying a famous character has to look like that character. There was a whole big thing today of Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, has got this photograph of him, released a still shot of him as the Smashing Machine Mark Kerr. And oh my God, look at the prosthetics, and oh my God. But we're not expecting you to look exactly like the real person. I mean, I think, you know what I mean? Like who's the actress that I like? The very thin one, the Twilight lady. You know, she played Princess Diana a few years ago in a movie. I liked that movie. Kirsten, God, I just can't remember. Kirsten, it's one of these fucking names. Kristen. She played, Diana, and I thought she did fine. I thought she did good. So I'm not expecting an actor to have to look like the real person. You know what I mean? We get it. It's a fucking movie. You know what I mean? You're portraying the person. You don't have to look exactly like them. You don't have to put on these prosthetics. But if he feels the need, he feels the need. There was a controversy this past year with our buddy there. The guy, Bradley Cooper, was wearing a prosthetic nose to play, was it Bernie, the composer, and so forth. I didn't see that movie. That movie I don't even think played around here. Getting back to Dune. So the similarity I saw was Highlander, which is my favorite fantasy movie. Some of you commenters on the first video thought I hate fantasy or I hate fiction. That's not accurate. So Highlander, the Kurgan, the evil Kurgan, has that head shaved. He kind of looks like a New York City punk security guard in a punk band or a punk club or something. The evil Kurgan, played by another actor whose name I can't remember right now, but the guy who was in a lot of shit, Clancy Brown. Fuck yeah. Clancy Brown plays the goddamn Kurgan in the movie Highlander from 1986. He's got a very scary look. If you haven't seen Highlander, see Highlander. It's a great movie. And this gentleman, Austin Butler, I'm assuming he used a head plate, like a bald plate. Maybe they shaved his head bald, who knows. But with his whole kind of, bald-headed geek look, so forth, it kind of reminded me of the Kurgan. Now, apparently that character was the character that Sting played back in 1984, and he had his, Sting blonde hair, the singer Sting, not the wrestler Sting. And so I don't know if in the novels the character was written with that ghastly bald look or not. But what I'm saying is, regardless of such, if it was written like that, then the Kurgan in Highlander would have been inspired by that. If, however, in the novels Dune, that character was not written as bald and ghastly looking, then perhaps, just fucking perhaps, the director of this movie was inspired by Highlander from 1986. So I don't know the answer. I'm just bringing up the question. I did have to take a couple of facility breaks. As far as the text on this thing, my experience, I was so happy. I got to the auditorium in plenty of time. There was still a preview going on. I had to facilitate. I was able to do that, get back into the theater, caught the tail end of the final preview and Nicole Kidman doing her thing and all that crap. And I was able to see the movie from the very beginning. Did not miss a moment, okay? And the times that I did have to facilitate in this experience, I went to the facilities during scenes that I clearly remembered the first time. Now, if you saw my first review, you might be saying, well, gee whiz, you didn't fall asleep this time? No, I did not, because the coffee. And that maybe that's the thing. Maybe from now on, when I'm going to see these 3-hour movies, I have to have a giant 32-ounce iced coffee in my system to thoroughly enjoy some of these more challenging, longer films. Lesson fucking learned. So I did have to facilitate a few times, but I went, left the auditorium, I should say, when I remembered the scenes from the first time I saw the movie. And so there you go. And one of those was the kind of the bad guy, the bald guy, having that kind of rigged fight where he's killing the people like the Christians and the Lions routine that his uncle set up. Also, I guess we have a little bit of another generation coming, because apparently he impregnated, what are these, the fucking witches called? The fucking space witches, the Bezabils or whatever the fucks. So he gets her knocked up. So she's got this baby. Now, here's the interesting thing. I mean, a lot of interesting things, but the mom, not that lady, but the Reverend Mother character, what do you think? Is she evil? Is she misguided? Is she just playing her part in this soap opera? But she claims to be hearing from her infant daughter that's still growing her stomach. Maybe this was covered in the first one, but who's the father of that infant? And the daughter character, who I think we see in a flash forward, the actress Anna Taylor-Joy, who's apparently going to be in this Mad Max movie coming up, and she's doing a lot of stuff, of course. But she is the sister, I'm assuming, when she grows up. And our buddy there, Chalamet, Paul, is seeing visions of the future character. So I'm assuming she's going to be in part 3 or however many parts this film series has. Anna Taylor-Joy, apparently, I would assume, is signed on for those, which could be interesting. And another big name, you know. So, you know, it's interesting stuff. So it's kind of like the themes that I liked, or the themes that I was getting out of this is, you know, if the prophecy is false, if the prophecy is made up, it seems like everyone's kind of buying into it. And certain things like the tears of the desert rose, or whatever the fuck, the desert spring, the tears from the desert spring to resurrect him from the dead, if that is in the prophecy and it's actually happening, then how is the prophecy false exactly? Like if it seems like some of these things that are in this prophecy, but later we learn, and some of you commenters have commented and told me, okay, Mike, well, the prophecy is all a bunch of horse shit. It's a rig. It's a lie. But if it is a lie, then how come things are happening? Is that the power of group delusion, group belief? You know what I mean? The term that people use these days, you know, groupthink or social contagion. Like if everyone's buying into this prophecy, and things are happening because of it, or things that they're doing things, or things are happening that match up with the prophecy, how is the prophecy a lie? I mean, it's happening, like the desert spring thing and all that crap. But that's happening. So how is this prophecy, even if it was conjured up by these evil witches who apparently they're kind of tweeners, they're in between good and bad, or whatever the fuck, or they just want to fuck with people. But if they have this story, and the story is coming true, even if it's what makes a prophecy is, I guess, what I'm asking. You know what I mean? If everyone buys into it, and then the things manifest, what can you say? You know what I mean? So that's interesting. Yeah, the whole thing with like this culture, I believe, is supposed to be in the year 10,000 and so forth, and it's not planet Earth or whatnot. But if the Freemans are supposed to have all this freedom, then why isn't our guy Paul there able to wed or to be with the woman that he really loves? If he really loves the Zendaya character, why can't he just be with her? It's just a political move, we're led to believe, for him to hook up with, or to take the hand of the other chick, of the daughter of the guy that killed his father. So that's just a political move? I don't know. I mean, if the whole point of him leading these people to paradise is to have all this freedom, why doesn't he experience his own sexual freedom, his own love life freedom? Yes, I know that you wouldn't have a fucking movie, or you wouldn't have a novel, or whatever the fuck, so I get that. But it's just one of those questions. What else? I didn't mention Dave Bautista in the first one, in my first review. Of course, he's a pro wrestler, so you think I'd be sympathetic to his cause. I give him credit. Dave Bautista has turned out to be a very good actor. He's, well, I wouldn't say he's, you know, he's a decent actor for a big guy. He does his part, and obviously he's a physical presence, and he's not afraid to do different things, whether it's comedy or the Guardians of the Galaxy. I believe it was an M. Night Shyamalan one. Was it 2022 summer? The cabin thing, which I like that one. So, I mean, he's good enough. And, you know, him and his, I guess they were supposed to be brothers, the Austin Butler, you know, that was a good dynamic, I thought. Some of the stuff that carried over from the first one, like I said, I have not seen the first one since I initially saw it back in 2021. I'm very foggy, except for that 21-minute video I watched today to refresh me. But I see some of the stuff from that one carried over to this one. And like I said, the break that I gave myself tonight, folks, is I did not go into this movie feeling like, okay, I have to have this thing all figured out and all understood. You know, watching the prep videos, obviously it's a very dense story. There's a lot of things going on. Maybe too many things, maybe not. I think probably the issue is, it's a challenge, I think, for any filmmaker, whether it's David Lynch or the 2021, 2024 team, to take 6 novels, and I don't know the lengths of each novel, but 6 novels. The audiobook version of all 6 apparently is 8 hours. So if you're trying to take 8 hours and put that on the silver screen, you know, in a translation, it's going to be difficult. And I can, even that video of the guy and the dog today was saying that, like, the first movie, it was very dense, not dense as in dumb, but dense as in thick of material, and it did not provide a lot of exposition. So in that case, it seems like these modern movies are basically assuming that everyone in the audience is familiar with the material to one degree or another, or maybe they're just playing to that aspect of the audience and hoping that the people like myself who've never read the novels, never saw the 1984 movie, are going to catch up on their own time. Maybe that's the thought. I mean, I don't know. You know, I really don't. And I think that situation exists with some of these movies. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is probably very similar. Do you mind? Where the filmmakers are just assuming that the audience have this knowledge. Now, is that the best way to approach a feature film? I don't know. I mean, I think you run the risk as the filmmaker of losing some of the audience before you have them. But maybe you have to do that because otherwise you'd just be doing a lot of exposition, or it would be just too much. And the reality is the theaters still, even now, when we do see these 3-hour epic movies and things like Tar from a few years ago with Kate Blanchett was fucking 4 hours long, you do see that they still want movies to be 2 hours and less. The theaters prefer that. That doesn't mean that's going to happen, and we do see a lot of exceptions to that rule. All these assholes with their cars. So, but yeah, the theaters, I think with the multiplexes, and maybe that's, the reins have loosened up because now you have 22 auditoriums, whatnot. This theater, I think, does have 24 screens in the theater I was just in. And get this, they started this movie tonight. It's a Tuesday night. They started at 8:15 p.m. I believe this was the last movie starting of the night. And I think there may have been a movie that started at 8:30, like a 2-hour movie. The Civil War movie still playing. That's probably on its last legs. But to start this 2-hour and 45-minute movie plus 20 minutes of previews, you know what I mean? And there was a security guard who kept popping his fucking head into the auditorium, basically hoping that I wasn't there. Like, you know, the security guard does not have the pamphlet of, you know, when the movies are getting out or how many people bought a ticket. But it probably was a situation where if I was not in that auditorium, he could kind of go in and just close down the theater. Because as soon as the fucking end credits started tonight, like within 2 beats, boom, the house lights were up. It's like, hey, asshole, I'd like to watch the goddamn end credits, okay? But, you know, it just is what it is. I mean, people do not, I mean, you know, post-pandemic world, people just don't want to do things with the care and the attention to detail and the pride of work as they used to. That's just a statement of fact across the fucking board. Do I necessarily blame people for that? No, because we've all realized what a sham it all is. So we're just, you know, trying to get by and do the least amount of work possible and go to our fucking grave, right? So in any event, I don't blame the security guard for turning on the lights, but it did kind of upset me. What else? Trying to think of other interesting things that I came up with. You know, I think basically it's also like this. When, you know, I don't like to go into a movie with a bunch of information. I don't want to read a review. I don't want to see a preview. Sometimes I don't even want to see the preview. I don't want other assholes' opinions. I don't want to watch a bunch of reviews or, you know, back in the Siskel and Ebert days, maybe, but they're gone, right? So I don't really want to see anyone else's goddamned opinion before I go see a movie on my own. Now, the downside of that, as is the case with Dune 2 and probably Dune 1, going in totally cold, without the insight or knowing some of the story or just the key points, then you're kind of like trying to pick up some stuff that might be hard to pick up. And I mean, despite what some of these commenters said, I really don't think it's an intelligence thing. It's certainly not. I mean, I'm obviously a highly intelligent person. It's just that you go in cold. It's hard to pick up all this stuff because of the different words and the, you know, blah, blah, blahs. And also there's a thing where as human beings, we're always trying to kind of shoehorn something new into what we already know about. For instance, the first time I saw this movie, it's like, okay, we have this you know, white savior trope, or this, you know, Messiah trope, or whatever the fuck. And he eventually kind of turns egotistical and egomaniac. But then when I see it this time, it's like, okay, well, that's a little more nuanced. It's like, what if you were buying into a false prophecy and everyone's telling you that you're this great leader to be and everything, and you're trying to resist that, and then it kind of turns out, if you have all these foreshadowings and all these predictions of your future or different paths, but the only way to really survive with all these ways that you could die, or these mass deaths, is to kind of embrace your hierarchy, like your royal bloodline or whatnot, and to do it that way. And that I found interesting. You know what I mean? So does that fit into what's going on in the United States in 2024 or whatever the fuck? Not really. I mean, you know, or the worms with the spice. Now look, what's the Oziapec or whatever the fuck, that pain, the fucking diet pills. I mean, I don't know, because I just woke up one day and suddenly it's like, oh yeah, the whole world has this fucking diet pill problem, and Oprah was taking them and everyone else and all this horse shit. I don't know. I guess I missed that routine. But just something like that, where the people can get hooked on these pills, or surgeries, or whatever the fuck's in fashion. You know, what's the fucking, with the face, the bioplasty, or the Ritalin, or whatever the fuck it is. People can buy into this stuff, and just do things to their body, or take pills, or whatever the fuck. We do see that. And in this world, everyone's apparently, if you keep taking this spice, once you start taking it, you have to take it for life, the water of life and all that stuff. And that's an interesting parallel, that this gentleman wrote this and it was published back in 1965. And here we are, you know, we've had crack cocaine, we've had, you know, the fucking pain pills 15 or 20 years ago, the Vicodins and so forth. And now this diet pill is the latest thing. And what's it, fentanyl, you know? Which I haven't taken fentanyl, but it's like, people hear the warnings, you know, it's not a fucking secret. Like, okay, if you take this drug, you might die, but people continue to take it. So, you know, with this spice thing, it's like, oh, you have to have the blue eyes, you have to have, you know, the twice the lifespan and all this stuff, you know. So it's just one of those things where, do we learn from these situations? Now, as far as me and this whole big thing, what am I inspired to do? I think I'm going to leave this all alone. You know, I'll fucking put this video up. You can comment or not, wherever the fuck. And I will put my experience of this 3 hour, 2 hours and 58 minute fan cut, as you might have heard, or maybe you didn't. I have never seen, as far as I can recall, I mean, I think I would have remembered, because I've seen that image of Sting from this movie many times, but I don't think I've ever watched this movie, because I remember seeing Labyrinth on the big screen a few years ago, and that's David Bowie, and I believe it's Tom Cruise and Jennifer Connelly, right? So I think when I saw Labyrinth a few years ago, that was the first time I saw that. Don't tell anyone. So this one, I don't think I've ever seen the 1984 David Lynch Sting adaptation. And so, but according to one of you nice commenters, the version to watch is this fan re-edit, 2 hours and 58 minutes. I'm really looking forward to that, but I don't think I'll be able to see it this week. Slim possibility. I think I'll have to wait till next week. And I am looking forward. And I went into tonight's experience just thinking, okay, I don't need to get this whole goddamn thing or have my finite opinion on Dune or the quality of the work or the world building or whatever the fuck. I don't need to have the final word on this whole Dune franchise or experience or whatever you want to call it, world. I can put that on reserve. Let me see the Sting thing. Am I going to listen to the whole 8-hour audiobook? You know, probably at some point. But I mean, if I get deep into it and I'm losing interest, I will bail. I mean, it's freedom, right? Freedom. I have the freedom to start it and not finish it if it turns on me or if I turn on it. But I mean, as far as like tonight goes, I gave it a fair shot. I jacked up on the fucking iced coffee and I went to see it. So MikeMessier.com. I will be promoting my own work, Many Keys, The Heartbreak Monologue. You can see that on One Man and a Camera Films. and I will be at the Fort Myers Film Festival. One Man on a Camera Films, my other channel. Thanks a lot, and thanks to all the commenters.